Check. Test 1, 2, test 1. So, I've got you in the Reddit chat. You're currently not responding, but what I would do. Oh, I'm just reading your response here. It says, I think it's complex because the model isn't supposed to be is supposed to be a resin print. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, yeah, that would make a lot of sense now that you mention it, but you can definitely do this with an FDM printer and make it look good. Um, really, I think you should cut this in some way strategically. I do see like a pretty big flat bottom here, which would be a good spot to cut because then you won't need to support all that area. So you would click at the top of the screen, right? I don't know if you can see my mouse. Just a sec here. Okay, you can see the things I'm highlighting. So you want to click this button right here, and then you click cut, and then you've got like you can modify the plane, tilt it, whatever. You want to basically press the ball in the middle, and you can see the bottom there. We want to get it right on the right pixel, kind of like that. You could probably even go a little bit higher, and it won't mess with really anything at that point. I'm just checking around the model to make sure that could actually work. Like these things, these hooks in the front are kind of concerning a little bit. And I did get your comment that you're watching. I'm glad. This is a pretty complex model, I'm not gonna lie about it, so I'm just kind of brainstorming, but I do think I would cut this one. And it looks like it could practically be cut in half and then you'd be all good. And I'm actually gonna see what happens. I'm gonna raise this up a bit, right to about here. Okay. Once you have your cut plane, you want to select this button here where you edit the connectors. This will make putting it together a lot simpler. So these little dots are from my previous cut, so I'm just going to select each dot and delete it, and I'm going to start from scratch. All right. So what you got to do is there's a couple types of like ways you can connect after you cut. So I could just cut it now, but I want to do the connectors, right? So I've got the oh, did not know you couldn't hear me. Testing one. Oh, test one, test one. Hello? You should be able to hear me now. I've got the audio input capture set up. Sorry, I didn't realize I had to even turn that on. Um, I'm just gonna text you. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Test 1. Okay, good. I'm glad you can hear me now. Sorry about the mic quality. It's just a cheap USB mic. So what I was saying is basically there's a button at the top, and I'm gonna highlight it now. It's this button here where it says cut. So I clicked that, and then you've got these little buttons on the side which will allow you to like change where the cut is, but essentially the cut is gonna happen where the where you see that white plane. And what I was saying was that a model like this, I think it's fair to say you could pretty much cut it in half, and that will save you a lot of headaches with support and such, especially given like all these things. Once you got the cut function brought up, you would go to the add connector button, and then what it does is it shows you one side of the cut, and from there you can select what type of connector you want. So like if you want a plug where it's like a dowel but connected to the model. I usually do dowels because that makes it easier to print. I generally also this won't be like that on yours. This one on the right is the tolerance. So I'll just give you an example. When I select dowel and hit circle, and then I click on a spot within the walls, that spot is going to have a hole now where a dowel can go in, and they're going to put the dowels on the plate for you. And the depth is just like how deep the dowel goes. The size is how big the circle is. And the ones on the right, like the 0.4, this is the tolerance. So it's actually going to add that 0.4 to the depth as well as the sizes, just because things don't normally perfectly fit. So in this case, you could put like a couple of connectors like this. Maybe you don't have to go overboard or anything. This is just for example. I'll let you decide on your own what you do. Okay, so now I've got the connectors done, and it'll show them on the other side so they all line up. That way you can put the model together perfectly. You confirm the connectors, and then you press perform cut, and it's telling me non-manifold edges will be caused by the cut. Do you want to fix them? You click yes. I'm not sure why it's not showing you that same box, because it is part of the application, but I'm just letting it process now. And then what you'll have is two halves of the tank that can each be printed flat. And with a little bit of post-processing, like a little bit of light sanding, you can pretty much remove any sign that it's actually glued together. Or if you're, I'm guessing you're a Warhammer player, so you could probably use like some green putty to fill the gaps or such before you get to painting. Now I've got a fast computer. This is actually taking a long time to fix the manifold edges. Not even sure if it can handle it at this point. Alright, I don't know what just happened there. I just canceled everything it was doing. I think it cut it. Yeah, it did. So there. Now I've got the tank cut in half, and there should be dowels somewhere on the plate. There they are. So I've got the dowels. I can probably put those on another plate. I'm going to show you another slicing option after this if you wanted to not cut the model and just go for the one solid piece. That's an option too, but this one's like the more reliable way. So this cut piece here, I would be flipping it over so that the flat cut part is down like that. And I've still got all my settings for the supports set up. So you'll see that it's going to reduce the amount of supports hopefully by quite a bit, but I do see a lot of protruding edges on this model. Actually, that's not the one I wanted to look at, but I guess so. Alright, so that did remove a ton of supports. Now you can see that most of these areas aren't supported. Inside the tank, like all this, I'm going to switch this over to line type. All this infill here, or all this green support, the only way you could really block that is by using a support blocker. And to do that, you would go back to your prepare tab, and you would right click the model, and there's an option here for a support blocker, and then you can select shapes. So if I select cube, there's going to be now a red cube on the plate. And unfortunately, like, I'm no expert on any of this, but I do know how this works. So I would reduce the cube like that, and just like I need to basically see inside the model, which I'm not entirely even sure how to do. And I don't look at this. Oh, there we go. I don't know why it was all connected there. All right, so once the support blocker's inside, oh, there we go. I can just see from the bottom. That's awesome. So I could actually block. All right, I knew what you were trying to say. This square here is a problem. This has to be supported because it's going to try to print it in mid-air, as well as, but the one above it is technically not going to be printed in thin air. That would actually bridge across just fine. So really you would want the support blockers just under the turret. So you would resize using that size function up here, and you resize it to whatever the width is of this area, like so, and then a little bit longer, something like that. What is this edge here? Am I getting this right? It's a bit too wide. I think that's where I want. Okay, so now when I slice this section again, that area will not have support. It should not have support. Better not. There's another way I could actually block those supports, which would probably be easier. Yeah, see, this whole section now has no support where that blocker is. And if we look at the line type again, so we do see some in there, which would need to be supported because you just can't print in thin air. Let's see what it does in that layer. So essentially you would have, let's see, support, and then it goes up. It's basically, yeah, actually it could print that area, I would think. No, it's not going to, because this section here, because what would happen is, see how it just did that? That's basically in thin air without supports. And then it does the perimeter, and then that would be not okay because there's nothing there. Yeah, you'd need this section supported. Anyway, that's the gist of that. Is you would use support blockers and cut strategically. Like you can cut an object more than once too. Like if you wanted to make another cut, say on this, I'm just gonna delete that support blocker. Where is it? I think it's this generic cube here. Oh, that's not it. Where's that? There it is. Alright, so if I wanted to really get technical, I could technically cut this again and then do another layer just where that, right there. See how inside like that? Oops. Gotta get it right on the pixel too. Right there. And then I could just do another cut, but you know what? This piece would be separate, which wouldn't be good. That would be the best spot to cut it. Probably just above that. So I could do another cut there. Oh no, it's asking for that stuff that it's asking to repair the model again. I'm just going to cancel that, just like I did last time. Hopefully it does the cut. Yes, it does. So now I've broken that main tank into 3 different things. I didn't put any connectors on that, but obviously that would be you. So now you have 3 much more easily printable things. There won't be any support in this area now that it's cut like that. You'll still have these areas supported, which is essentially what you want, and you have access to pull out the support when it's cut like that. This section here, same deal. You would just pull the supports out now that they're like that, and then you've got all your dowels should also be printed like so. Just arrange every plate, slice, and that's that would be a pretty effective way of doing it, this model. I'm not gonna lie. I've got my layer height pretty thick, so it looks ugly as hell, but that's an effective way. Hopefully that helps, but before I let you go, I'm gonna just show you the other method that I was talking about, and that's where you use what's a PETG support interface. So when you're PLA and PETG, they don't technically, like, they won't combine with each other. So if you print PETG on top of PLA, they'll just pull apart. So you can effectively use it like a support like a support filament, and vice versa. But the better way to do it is you essentially just use the top interface layer, which you'll see here. So that most, like, the build plate temperature is the same as the filament that's being printed with. So essentially the base levels of the support will all be the correct temperature. But what I'll do is I'm just going to add that model really quick one more time, like a fresh version of it. So here we have the full tank, right? Underneath here, if you were just doing this in one solid piece, you would definitely want to use these settings, because this bottom section will come out perfectly if you set the top Z distance to 0, because ordinarily it's 0.2. That means there's an air gap between the bottom of this and the support, and that's so that people can pull the support off easily, right? So we reduce that to 0. We put the top interface is normally 2, I believe. We set that to 1, and we set the top interface spacing to 0. And I'll show you what will happen. Once this slices, I'll go to this bottom section here, and you'll see there will be a perfectly flat PETG layer, and the white is the PETG. So if I scroll down through the model here, right about, I think that was it. No, it's right there. This layer here is perfect for laying down the PLA on top of it. And when you go to pull the support off, it'll literally just peel right off. I do this for a lot of different models, but I will raise some skepticism of how well this will work, because it primarily works best with just big flat surfaces. But this model has a lot of not flat surfaces. Like, you've got a lot of, like, the tracks, for example, areas like, it's definitely a resin model. I totally agree with you on that. And personally, it might be best to just cut it into the 3 separate pieces like I showed earlier, and make sure you add connectors for these other parts too. So I think I'm going to stop here. If you have any more questions, feel free to hit me up in the chat. Also, doesn't hurt to like and subscribe.